What would you do if your own father called you a burden while you were paying his mortgage? I'm Brooke Mitchell. I'm 27 years old, and until last Christmas, I was paying over $3,000 every month to support my parents. I covered everything: mortgage, cars, bills, even their groceries. I thought I was helping them survive a hard time, but what my father said to me at Christmas dinner broke something in me that I never thought would break. He looked me dead in the eyes and told me to get out of his house, the house I was paying for. But I didn't just leave, I changed everything. Let me tell you how it got to this point. I grew up in a quiet suburb near Minneapolis. My dad, Robert Mitchell, worked as a sales manager. My mom, Diane, was a part time elementary school teacher. We weren't rich, but we were okay. We had road trips to Florida, dance lessons for me, and a cozy house in a good school district. Everything changed 5 years ago when dad lost his job during a company restructuring. He was 52, too old for entry level jobs, but not old enough for retirement. His severance pay kept us going at first, but his pride took a hard hit. He promised it would be temporary. He told us he was applying everywhere. But after a few months, things changed. He stopped looking and started drinking. Mom tried to stay strong, but she was scared. Her small paycheck could barely keep the lights on. At that time, I had just graduated college with a marketing degree. I was excited to finally land my first real job at a digital agency. I moved back home to help out for a little while. I thought it would be for a few months, just enough time to get my parents through this rough patch, but weeks became months, months became years. Soon I was paying everything: $1,500 for the mortgage, $800 for their car payments, $300 for credit cards, $250 for phone, internet, and streaming services. That's over $3,600 each month, more than 60% of my income. At first, I didn't complain. These were my parents. They gave me everything. I owed them, right? But slowly things began to feel wrong. Dad stopped pretending to look for a job. Anytime I brought up work, he exploded. You think I'm lazy? You think I want my daughter paying for me? He'd yell and storm off. Mom would always excuse it. He's just depressed. Be patient. Then came the entitlement. Dad upgraded the cable package without asking. Mom started ordering expensive organic groceries. When my car needed repairs, Dad told me to finance a new one, but I was already making payments on their two cars. Last year, I got promoted. I took everyone out to celebrate. I spent $300 on dinner. My dad complained about the food and told me I only got promoted because of diversity quotas. I cried in the bathroom while mom waited outside and whispered, "Don't take it personally." For my birthday, I planned a girls' weekend with friends. Dad threw a tantrum. "Abandoning your family on your birthday?" he asked. I canceled my trip. I spent my birthday watching TV with them. No cake, no card, just mom whispering, "Happy birthday," when dad wasn't in the room. Still, I hoped Christmas might be better. I went all out: gifts, food, decorations. I baked cookies from my grandma's old recipes. I put lights around the house. I wanted to feel like I had a real family again. Christmas morning started okay. I gave my dad a Nixon watch he mentioned months ago. He smiled. Mom cried when she opened her spa package and cashmere sweater. For a moment, I felt like maybe things were turning around. Then the rest of the family showed up: Uncle James, Aunt Patricia, Cousin Lisa, and more. The house looked beautiful. Everyone complimented the food and decorations. Dinner started well. Uncle James raised a toast to me for the meal. Then Dad said something that made the whole room go quiet. "To the man who provided this roof for 30 years, he said while sitting in a house I'd been paying for. I stayed quiet, but it hurt. Later, Aunt Patricia asked me about my promotion. I smiled and said I might finally move out and get my own place. Dad's voice dropped low. "Planning to abandon ship now that you're making big bucks?" Mom tried to defend me. "She's just happy, Robert. She's not abandoning us." But I couldn't stay silent anymore. "I'm 27, Dad. I've been paying all the bills. I love you both, but I need to think about my own life too." He exploded. "Your own life? What are we supposed to do? Become homeless?" Aunt Patricia tried to calm him down, but he yelled louder. "We spent everything putting you through college, and now you want to dump us." I shook my head. "I paid for college myself. Scholarships, loans. I'm still paying them off." That's when he said it. "You're nothing but a burden. Always have been. Get out of my house." The room went silent. Mom gasped. No one said a word. I looked at her, waiting for her to defend me. She just whispered, "He doesn't mean it. Let's just eat, honey." And in that moment, I realized she was never going to choose me. I stood up. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked out of the dining room and into a new chapter of my life. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying my father's words in my mind like a broken record. You're nothing but a burden. Always have been. Get out of my house. His voice echoed louder than any Christmas music playing downstairs. No one came to check on me, not my mother, not even a cousin to see if I was okay. The dinner continued without me. I heard forced laughter, the clinking of dishes, and the occasional cough of someone trying to change the subject. By the time I heard the last of the car doors slam shut around midnight, my decision had already been made. I wasn't going to keep doing this. At 3 a.m., I got out of bed and opened my laptop. I sat cross legged on the floor, still in my holiday sweater. My fingers trembled slightly as I created a new spreadsheet titled Financial Support Summary. I needed to see the numbers. I needed to remind myself that I wasn't imagining the burden I had carried. I listed every major category: mortgage $1,500 month, trade 3 years, $54,000. Car payments $800 month, trade 3 years, $28. $400 month, trade 3 years, $510. Any insurance $300 $50 month. Tremis Lanch Explores 1012. Credit cards $300 month. Tremis Lanch Explores 1012. Sinmarco Fairvinia $100. Revive Apple at 80 wage. Phones, internet, streaming $250 month. Tremis Lanch Explode Unwrap this 3D. Tremis $300 after $50. I stared at the number for a long time. It looked unreal. I stared at the number for a long time. It looked unreal. That money could have been a down payment on a home, a business investment, a master's degree. Instead, it had vanished into my parents' lifestyle while I drove a 10-year-old car, lived paycheck to paycheck, and skipped vacations to stay home with them. I checked my bank account, under $8,000. I checked my retirement savings, barely anything. I checked my student loan balance, still over $30,000. I was 27 years old and financially trapped, not because of mistakes I made, but because I had sacrificed everything for parents who saw me as a wallet, not a daughter. The next morning, I packed a small suitcase with essentials: laptop, work clothes, documents, toiletries. I didn't say goodbye. I walked out the front door, got into my car, and drove to my friend Rachel's place. She had a guest room. No questions asked. She let me stay. I took one day off work to collect myself. On the second day, I made 5 phone calls that changed everything. 1. The mortgage company. I explained I was no longer living at the property and asked to have my name removed from future payments. Since it was under my name, I said I'd stop paying completely. I didn't care what they did with it anymore. 2. The insurance provider. I canceled the homeowner's insurance policy immediately. I let them know my coverage responsibility had ended. 3. The car loan company. I stopped automatic payments on both my parents' cars. If they wanted to keep driving, they could start making payments themselves. 4. The utility company. I removed my payment information from the electric, water, and internet accounts. I told them the occupants would need to update their billing. 5. My bank. I set up new automatic savings transfers for myself. For the first time in years, money would go into my own future, not theirs. That same week, I wrote my parents a letter. I didn't want another screaming match. I wanted closure. I wrote, "Dear Mom and Dad, this isn't about hate. It's about survival. I've supported this household alone for over 5 years. I've given more than anyone should ever be asked to give, and I've done it quietly. But being called a burden after all I've sacrificed was a line I can't let slide. I'm choosing to live my life now. I will not be continuing any financial support. All accounts in my name have been canceled or removed. If you want to maintain your lifestyle, you'll need to do it on your own. I hope you find your way, but I won't be part of it anymore. Brooke." I mailed the letter. Then I blocked both of their numbers. It felt cold, but it also felt free. I spent the next few weeks trying to rebuild. I created a real budget, one focused on me. I moved in with Rachel temporarily and started saving aggressively. I saw a therapist who helped me understand that love isn't about endless sacrifice. Sometimes love means walking away from what's breaking you. My coworkers noticed a change in me. "You seem lighter," one of them said. "I am," I replied. For the first time in years, I could breathe without guilt. I still had nightmares, though, of my dad yelling, of my mom pleading, of the guilt that followed me like a shadow. But I also had dreams of travel, of independence, of building something for myself, and that gave me hope. The first week of silence felt strange. No calls, no texts, no surprise emails from mom trying to smooth things over. I half expected my father to show up at my job or bang on Rachel's door demanding answers, but nothing happened, and that silence was both comforting and unsettling. It was the first time in 5 years that my phone wasn't buzzing with bill reminders or guilt trips. I waited and waited. Then the messages started coming. On the 8th day, I received a long email from my mother. The subject line read, "Please come home." Her words were gentle, apologetic, and full of excuses. "Your father didn't mean what he said. He was drinking. You know how he gets when he feels embarrassed. Please don't punish us both for one night. Things will be different.
He's already looking for job listings again. I promise. It would have worked on me 5 years ago, but not now. I didn't reply. 2 days later, another email arrived. This one was shorter, more urgent. The mortgage is due, and we can't pay it without your help. They're threatening foreclosure. Is that really what you want for your parents? This time, I forwarded it to my financial advisor, then deleted it. I had warned them in the letter. They just didn't believe me. Week 3 came. Rachel and I sat on her couch, eating takeout when my phone lit up with an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later I listened. It was my dad. His voice was gruff but forced calm, like someone trying not to yell, while still clearly angry. Look, you've made your point, but this is childish. Brooke, you don't just abandon your family because of one bad night. You think the world owes you something? You'll find out soon enough it doesn't. We did everything for you, and this is how you repay us. He ended the message with a long pause, then hung up without saying goodbye. I didn't reply. That was the last time I heard his voice. 2 more weeks passed. I focused on work. I started jogging again in the mornings. I opened a high-yield savings account. I bought myself a new coat. A real one, not a discount brand clearance special. I felt guilty at first, then proud. By week 6, I had enough in savings for a small apartment deposit. I signed a lease on a one-bedroom place across town. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I bought a couch, a desk, a real bed, and for the first time in my adult life, I set everything up in a space that belonged entirely to me. No dad watching sports and shouting at the news. No mom asking for just a little help with groceries. Just quiet, peaceful, liberating quiet.
A few weeks later, I ran into my cousin Lisa at a grocery store. I almost didn't recognize her. She looked like she was trying to avoid me too. We made eye contact. She hesitated, then slowly walked over. Brooke, she said softly. Hey, I replied cautiously. She looked uncomfortable. I just wanted to say, I think what you did was brave. No one talks about it in the family, but everyone saw how your parents treated you. I blinked. Really? She nodded. Aunt Patricia told my mom she was shocked at how your dad spoke to you that night. Uncle James said he wanted to say something but didn't want to make it worse. That made me pause. So they all noticed, but no one said anything. Lisa sighed. That's how our family is. Keep the peace, don't cause waves, but just so you know, people talked, and a few of us think you did the right thing. It wasn't much, but it felt like a tiny beam of light shining through a long tunnel. 2 months after I left, I received a letter in the mail, handwritten, from my mother. I sat on the couch for 10 minutes just staring at the envelope. Eventually, I opened it. Her handwriting looked shaky. Brooke, your father hasn't been the same since you left. He refuses to apply for jobs. The house is in pre-foreclosure now. I've started working full-time again at the school. It's hard, but I'm trying. I'm not writing to ask for money. I'm writing to say I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you years ago. I should have told him to treat you better. I should have thanked you every single day for what you gave us. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I see it now, all of it, and I hope one day we can speak again. Love always, Mom. I read it 3 times, and then I cried. Not because I wanted to go back, but because somewhere deep down, a part of me still wanted my mother to see me. That letter didn't change my decision. I didn't return. I didn't start paying bills again, but it brought me closure, a sliver of peace. Maybe one day I'd respond, maybe not, but I had made the right choice. It took almost losing everything for my parents to realize what they had taken for granted. By then, I had already started building something better, a life where I didn't have to apologize for wanting peace, a life where I didn't have to pay for love. The day I moved into my new apartment, I sat on the floor of the empty living room and just breathed. No furniture yet, no dishes, not even curtains, just peace. For the first time in years, I wasn't sharing space with shouting, guilt, or silent judgment. There were no tense dinner conversations, no emotional blackmail, no hovering questions about what bill I'd pay next. It was just me, and that silence, it didn't feel empty, it felt like freedom. The first thing I did was light a candle. I had bought it months ago on a clearance rack, but never burned it at my parents' house. Mom hated strong scents. Dad called candles a waste of money, but now I didn't have to ask anyone. I could burn it just because I wanted to. It smelled like vanilla and citrus, like calm. That night I slept on an air mattress with a thin blanket, wearing my hoodie for warmth. I had one lamp and a box of granola bars in the kitchen. No fridge yet, no couch, and still I slept better than I had in years. The next morning I walked to a nearby coffee shop and ordered a latte. It cost more than I usually allowed myself to spend, but I paid for it with a smile. That cup represented something bigger than caffeine. It represented choice. I opened my laptop and started going over my budget. For the first time, my salary was mine. I didn't have to divide it between overdue bills, groceries for 2 adults, or car insurance I wasn't even using. I set up 3 accounts. Savings. I set a goal of $10,000 in 6 months. Ambitious but possible. Emergency fund. Just in case.
I didn't want to ever feel trapped again. Freedom Fund. I called it that because I didn't know what it would become travel, further education, or maybe even starting my own business. But I knew I needed options. I also resumed contributing to my 401k at work, something I had paused years ago. Within a few weeks, I started decorating the apartment bit by bit. I used couch from Facebook Marketplace, a second-hand dining table I refinished myself, a little shelf with fake plants and candles, a full-length mirror, a rug I loved, even if it clashed with everything. None of it matched perfectly, but it was all mine. I hung string lights along the windows and printed a quote to tape above my desk. Build a life you don't need to run away from. As I settled in, I started noticing how much lighter I felt. Work became more enjoyable. I had more mental space for ideas, strategy, creativity. My coworkers started complimenting me more. You seem energized, they said. Happier I was. I no longer dreaded weekends. I no longer avoided holidays. And I didn't have to spend every Sunday dreading Monday because I knew it would come with a request for money, or an emotional guilt trip about everything your father gave up for you. My therapist helped me with the guilt. I told her I felt selfish for leaving. She looked at me calmly and said, You didn't leave them. You returned to yourself. Those words stayed with me. By month 2, I had already saved $3,000. By month 4, I had paid off one of my smaller student loans in full. I started taking weekend walks in the park, cooking for myself, even going out with friends again without constantly checking my bank balance. I also learned how to say no without apologizing. No, I can't lend money. No, I can't come over for dinner. No, I'm not available for emotional labor today. I got a call from a family friend around that time, Mrs. Reynolds, who used to babysit me when I was little. She told me she heard what happened at Christmas. I don't know all the details, she said, but I just want you to know I'm proud of you. Some people never break free. It meant more than she probably knew, because it wasn't just about money. It was about identity. For so long, I had been the responsible daughter, the one who fixed things, the one who provided. Now I was just Brooke, and I liked who she was becoming. Sometimes I wondered how my parents were managing. Was the house foreclosed? Did they sell their cars? Was my mom still working? I didn't know. I had blocked their numbers, and I didn't check their social media. It wasn't out of anger anymore. It was out of peace. I didn't need updates. I didn't need closure. I had already closed the chapter. The real closure came the day I stood in my new kitchen, sipping coffee, watching snow fall outside my window. The same weather as the day everything fell apart.
But this time I wasn't trapped inside someone else's life. I was living mine, fully, freely, and with zero apologies. It's been nearly a year since that Christmas dinner, the one where my father called me a burden and told me to get out of his house, the house I had been paying for. A lot has changed since then. But what hasn't changed is the peace I found since walking away. I didn't know if I'd ever share this story. I thought maybe it was too personal, too painful, but the more I speak to people, the more I realize how common this quiet pain is. Children giving up everything for parents who keep taking without ever giving back. If you're one of those people, I want to talk to you because what I've learned over this year could change how you see yourself and what you think you owe. First, let me say this. You don't owe your peace, your future, or your mental health to people who refuse to grow with you. Not even if they're your parents. Not even if they raised you. Not even if they say they sacrificed everything for you while continuing to make you feel like you're never enough. Love is not debt, and family is not a contract. After I moved out, I spent a lot of time wondering what kind of daughter that made me. Was I selfish, cold, ungrateful? But then I look back at the years I spent giving everything I had, my money, my time, my emotional energy, and still being told it wasn't enough. What kind of parent looks their child in the eye and says you're a burden? What kind of mother lets that happen and then whispers, he didn't mean it, as if that makes it okay? That's not love. That's emotional dependency. That's control disguised as sacrifice. I learned that you can love someone and still walk away from them. Love doesn't mean you let people destroy you. Love means you hold people accountable even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. And sometimes loving yourself means closing the door no one else had the courage to close. I used to feel ashamed for blocking my parents. Now I feel proud. It wasn't easy, it wasn't fast, and it wasn't without pain, but it was necessary. Because here's the truth. My parents were not going to change. My mother wasn't going to start standing up for me. My father wasn't going to apologize or get help. They were going to keep taking until there was nothing left of me. One of the hardest things I had to accept was this. They loved the version of me that made their life easier. The silent daughter, the provider, the fixer. Not the one who said no, not the one who set boundaries, not the one who asked for something in return. And when I stopped performing that role, they saw it as betrayal, not growth. But that's not on me, that's on them. This year, I celebrated my birthday with my friends. We went out to dinner. They brought cake and flowers and sang loudly, even though the whole restaurant stared. I laughed until I cried. No guilt, no canceled plans, no silent dinner with parents pretending to be proud, just love. Real, honest, uncomplicated love. And that's what I've started building now. A life full of people who see me, not what I can give them, people who show up because they want to, not because I pay their phone bill. I also started writing again, journaling, blogging, even outlining a potential book. I write about boundaries, about burnout, about being the responsible child, and how heavy that title becomes. I receive messages from strangers now, people who say, "This is my story too. I thought I was the only one." You're not alone. If you're feeling stuck, drained, or guilty because you're the one holding everyone else together, I want to tell you something important. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to say, "I can't carry this anymore." You are allowed to choose your future over their comfort. And it doesn't make you heartless, it makes you whole. I still don't talk to my parents. I don't know if I ever will. And I'm okay with that, because I've learned something that took me years to understand. Sometimes you don't get closure from people, you give it to yourself. I gave myself permission to heal. I gave myself space to grow. I gave myself a life that doesn't revolve around someone else's disappointment. And I will never apologize for that again. If my story feels like your story, even just a little bit, I hope you take this as a sign that you can walk away, a sign that you're not the villain for choosing yourself, a sign that you are enough, even when the people who raised you couldn't see it. Today, I live in a cozy apartment filled with books, light, and laughter. I have a savings account, a quiet morning routine, and dreams that belong to me. And every time I look around, I think, this peace, this life, it was worth every step away from that dinner table.